In the US, more than 600,000 people go missing annually. Daily, that number would be around 1,000. These numbers have gone down dramatically over the past decades, hitting a peak in 1997 of over 980,000 people. Contrary to popular belief, the majority of these cases are actually solved. The remaining couple thousand missing person cases can be chalked up to witness protection, custody battles, runaway teens that are quickly returned home. The list goes on. But of that couple thousand, there still remains dozens of people that are never seen or heard from again, regardless of what the circumstances were. Hello and welcome back. And for those of you who are new, thank you for clicking on the video and taking some of your time to watch this. It's been quite a while since I've posted my last video on here. Reason being, life in general just getting in the way. I did take some time off and I eventually did other things here and there, but I knew that I wanted to come back to this sooner. And what better way to come back than to actually start the third tier of the iceberg that I've been working on since last year, I believe. So without further delay, here's tier 3 of the missing persons iceberg.
Brandon Lawson. Brandon was a 26-year-old man at the time of disappearance on August 9th, 2013. He was arriving home in the city of San Angelo, Texas. He lived with his girlfriend of 10 years, Latessa Lofton. As Brandon got home, he and his girlfriend began to argue, this being due to the fact that Brandon struggled with substance abuse. He had been clean for 6 months, though according to sources, Brandon didn't come home the night before, so she had accused him of relapsing. So Brandon, having enough, called his father and told him that he was coming over the same night. That being a 3-hour drive, he left around 11:54 p.m. driving a silver Ford F-150. Around 12:30 a.m. he called his brother, Kyle, and told him in a not-so-friendly way, I quote, the Mexicans were chasing him out of town, end quote. An odd thing to state, Kyle asked him if he was hallucinating, which Brandon denied. While all this was going on, Kyle, along with his wife and child, had gone over to Latessa's house in order to retrieve a fuel can, all while he kept calling Brandon, but Brandon wouldn't hold a conversation for more than a few seconds, usually ending the call himself. So at around 12:50 a.m., an hour after Brandon left his house, he made a call to 911 stating, quote, yes, I'm in the middle of a field. Pulled some guys over, right here going to Abilene on both sides, and my truck ran out of gas. There's one car here. The guy's chasing into the woods. Please hurry. End quote. A trucker a few minutes later called 911 also and told him that a truck was in the middle of the road. This was, in fact, Brandon's truck. At 1:15 a.m., Brandon began calling and getting calls from his brother, girlfriend, and neighbor. Poor reception made these calls go to voicemail soon after that. 1:18 a.m., Kyle called Brandon, who sounded out of breath. Throughout this entire time, it was essentially a wild goose chase. No one could get a hold of anyone, and if they did, it went to voicemail, as they all claim. Kyle ended up leaving the gas can in the back of the truck, so if Brandon did return, he wouldn't be stranded. In the end, he was never found, and no one could even begin to comprehend what had just happened. The search party that was made afterwards found nothing. In 2022, it was reported by Brandon's family that a search party found clothing belonging to Brandon, though as of this year, DNA has not been tested, but Brandon's family is confident that it is indeed his.
Brianna Maitland. Brianna, a teenager at the time of her disappearance on March 19, 2004, at the age of 17, disappeared under perplexing circumstances. Brianna Maitland was raised on her parents' farm in East Franklin, Vermont. near the Canadian border. She had an older brother and was proficient in jiu-jitsu as well. During her sophomore year of high school, she transferred to an Iceberg Falls High School. On her 17th birthday in October 2003, Brianna decided to move away from her parents' farm, not due to serious family issues, but to gain more independence and be closer to her friends who lived 15 miles away. Brianna enrolled at her friend's high school, but her living arrangements were unstable. By the end of February of 2004, she completely dropped out of school and moved in with her childhood friend, Jillian Stout, in Sheldon, Vermont, around 20 miles from Montgomery, where she was employed at the Black Lantern Inn. She also joined a GED program to continue her education. About 3 weeks prior to her disappearance, a troubling incident occurred. At a party, Brianna was physically attacked by a former friend, Keely Lacrosse. The motive behind the attack remained unclear, but some speculated it might have been related to jealousy. On March 19, 2004, marked the day of Brianna's disappearance. She had taken her GED exam in the morning and celebrated with her mother. After lunch, while out shopping, something appeared to disturb her. She left to prepare for her shift at the Black Lantern Inn in Montgomery. This was the last time her mother saw her. During her shift at the inn, she told coworkers she needed to rest for her next job in St. Albans, leaving around 11:20 p.m. She was alone in her car when she had left. The next day, her green 1985 Oldsmobile was discovered backed into an abandoned house about a mile from the Black Lantern Inn. Her personal items were inside, including paychecks, change, and an unsmoked cigarette. Strangely, her disappearance wasn't reported for several days. Several witnesses recalled seeing her car near the abandoned house, and another saw it the morning after, finding loose change and personal items outside. Initially, law enforcement considered the possibility that Brianna might have run away. The area near the abandoned house was searched, but nothing was found. Foul play was later suspected, as the scene seemed staged to appear as an accident. Her family organized a reward for information, reaching up to $20,000. An anonymous tip suggested Brianna was being held against her will in a nearby house occupied by known drug dealers, Ryans and Jackson. Police raided the house but found no sign of her. A subsequent statement from an anonymous older female implicated Ryans and Jackson in Brianna's disappearance and alleged murder. In 2016, investigators revealed they had recovered DNA samples from Brianna's car. The results were not disclosed, however. In 2022, Vermont State Police announced they found a match to the DNA sample, but the person's identity was not released. Brianna's case has been profiled on various media platforms, including Dateline NBC, the Investigation Discovery series Disappeared, and the Vanish podcast. It was also discussed in an episode of The Disappearance of Mara Murray. As of 2022, the disappearance of Brianna Maitland remains a chilling mystery. Her family and the community continue to seek answers, hoping to finally bring closure to this baffling case.
Gary Matthias. Gary Matthias was a native of Yuba City, California. In the early 1970s, he was stationed in West Germany as part of his United States Army service. During his time in Germany, he developed drug problems, which ultimately led to him being diagnosed with schizophrenia. As a result, he received a psychiatric discharge from the Army. Upon returning to the United States, he sought treatment for his condition at a local mental hospital. At first, his struggles were significant, as he held episodes of psychosis that required hospitalization. However, by 1978, he was being treated on an outpatient basis with the antipsychotic medications Stelacine and Cogatin. His physicians considered him a sterling success case. Matthias supplemented his income from Army disability pay by working in his stepfather's gardening business. Apart from his family, he was particularly close to the other 4 men in the group, known collectively as the Boys. Matthias and his friends had mild intellectual disabilities, psychiatric conditions, or were informally considered slow learners. They all lived with their parents within the Yuba City and Marysville area. On the night of February 24th, 1978, Matthias and the four other men attended a college basketball game at California State University, Chico. Following the game, they drove to a nearby store in Chico to buy snacks, which was the last confirmed sighting of the group. Their intention was to support the UC Davis basketball team in an away game against Chico State. When the five men failed to return home as expected, their families became concerned, and Matthias in particular had failed to return to his family. The mystery itself deepens with the role of Gary Matthias in this case. Why did Matthias and the group take a route that led them far away from their homes? None of the families could speculate as to why they might have driven deep into a remote forest area with heavy snowfall. Matthias was not known to have any familiarity with the mountainous terrain. The Mercury Montego they were driving was found abandoned in the remote Plumas National Forest, and it wasn't clear why they had left the vehicle behind. The car was in a good working condition and could have easily been pushed out of the snowpack if it was stuck. After the initial disappearance, none of the men were ever seen alive again, except for multiple reported sightings that couldn't be definitively verified. Matthias remained missing, and the circumstances of his absence were very perplexing. The discovery of the bodies of Bill Sterling, Jack Madruga, and Ted Weyer near the trailer in the forest raised questions about how and why Matthias didn't survive. It seemed that the group had an ample supply of food and heating materials nearby, yet they perished. The fact that Matthias's tennis sneakers were found inside the trailer further complicates the puzzle. Despite the discovery of the remains of the other four men, Matthias's fate remains unknown. The case continues to baffle investigators with no conclusive answers about his whereabouts or the circumstances of his disappearance. The actions of Matthias and the events surrounding his absence remain a central enigma in the Yuba County 5 case. There is so much to this case that just this single entry does not do it justice. There are definitely other creators on YouTube that have gone over this case in full, I would say, but I myself would love to talk about it. Maybe that'll be a future video, I'm not sure yet. The Springfield 3. Cheryl Elizabeth Levitt, 47 years old, Suzanne Streeter, 19 years old, and Stacy Kathleen McCall, 18 years old. These three all disappeared in the year of 1992. The events leading up to the disappearance of the Springfield 3 are as follows. Susie Streeter and Stacy McCall graduated from Kickapoo High School on June 6, 1992. They were last seen around 2 a.m. on June 7th of 1992, leaving a graduation party. Initially, they planned to spend the night at their friend Janelle Kirby's house, but they changed their minds after finding it too crowded. Instead, they headed to Susie Streeter's home at 1717 East Delmar Street, where her mother, Cheryl Levitt, also lived. The following morning, when the two friends failed to show up at Janelle Kirby's house, Kirby and her boyfriend visited Susie Streeter's home. They discovered that the front door was unlocked, and no sign of the three women was found. All of the women's cars were still parked outside the house. An unusual detail was that the glass lampshade on the porch light was shattered, though the light bulb itself was still intact. Subsequently, Stacy McCall's mother, Janice, also visited the house and noticed that the women's purses and personal items were still inside. The fact that they left without taking their belongings was alarming. During this visit, Janice McCall, who listened to a strange message, which was inadvertently erased, the call seemed to be of interest to the police. Still within the same year of 1992, a man made a call to the America's Most Wanted hotline with information about the case, but the call was disconnected. Police believed that the caller had valuable knowledge about the abductions, but nothing more came from that lead. Levitt and Streeter were declared legally dead in 1997, but their case files remain officially filed under missing. There were also claims that the women's bodies were buried in the foundation of the south parking garage at Cox Hospital, but investigators deemed this lead not credible enough. Dustin Rekla, a former boyfriend of Susie Streeter, was initially considered because Streeter had provided a statement about his involvement in a mausoleum break-in. In 1997, Robert Craig Cox, a convicted kidnapper and robber, claimed he knew the women had been murdered, but his credibility was doubted by authorities. Despite ongoing investigations and public interest, the case of the Springfield Three remains unsolved as of 2023. It continues to capture the attention of the media and the public, with numerous tips and potential leads that have yet to bring answers to the mystery. Though not as intriguing as the Yuba County Five, I still think this case is also fascinating in itself. I definitely want to make this one into its own video. Frank Morris and the England Brothers. The 1962 Alcatraz escape attempt is one of the most famous and intriguing prison escape stories in history. Alcatraz Island, located in San Francisco Bay, was a maximum security federal prison that held some of the most notorious criminals in the United States. Due to its location and strong security measures, it was considered inescapable. In 1962, 3 inmates hatched an elaborate plan to escape from Alcatraz. The 3 prisoners involved were Frank Morris, a career criminal with a history of escapes from other prisons; Clarence England, an inmate who had attempted to escape from Leavenworth Penitentiary earlier in his criminal career; and John England, Clarence's younger brother, who was also serving time at Alcatraz. The escape plan was meticulously detailed and involved the following steps. The inmates spent months chiseling away the vent openings at the back of their cells, which led to an unguarded utility corridor. They concealed their activities by covering the holes with cardboard and paint. They accumulated life vests in a makeshift raft made of raincoats. The escape was timed for the night of June 11, 1962, during which they planned to slip through the vents and enter the utility corridor. After reaching the roof, they climbed down the exterior wall and entered the water, using their makeshift raft to float away. On the night of June 11th, the 3 inmates carried out their plan. The escape was executed with remarkable precision. The inmates left behind items to create the illusion that they were sleeping in their beds. They had crawled through the holes they had chiseled out and climbed to the roof. Using a makeshift periscope fashioned from a broken fan and mirror, they monitored the guards' activities. After climbing down the exterior wall, the inmates launched their makeshift raft into the dark waters of the bay. When the escape was discovered the following morning, it led to one of the largest manhunts in U.S. history. The FBI, U.S. Marshals, and local law enforcement agencies conducted an extensive search for the escapees. Pieces of the makeshift raft and personal belongings of the escapees were discovered floating in the San Francisco Bay. Despite an extensive search, though, no sign of the escapees were found, leading to speculation that they may have successfully made it to the mainland. Over the years, several theories emerged about the fate of the escapees. Some believe that the 3 men successfully reached the mainland and went into hiding, possibly with the assistance of criminal associates. They may have left the country or assumed new identities. Others believe that the strong currents and cold waters of the San Francisco Bay would have made it nearly impossible for the escapees to survive the swim to shore. Those people would possibly agree that the men likely drowned. Given the lack of supplies and harsh conditions, some speculate that the escapees succumbed to the elements and died of exposure or hypothermia. There are also theories that the escape was facilitated by inside help, suggesting that the inmates had assistance from a prison guard or staff member. The 1962 Alcatraz escape attempt continues to captivate the public's imagination and has inspired books, documentaries, and a Clint Eastwood movie, Escape from Alcatraz. The true fate of Frank Morris and the England brothers remains a mystery, making it one of the most famous unsolved cases in U.S. criminal history. Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary was closed in 1963, largely due to the escape, and it is now a popular tourist attraction and a symbol of the escape's mystique. Emanuela Orlandi. Emanuela Orlandi was a 15-year-old girl who disappeared on June 22, 1983. She was born into a deeply religious Roman Catholic family. Her father, Ercole Orlandi, worked as a lay employee in the Vatican City, residing within the walls of this small independent state. Emanuela was the 4th of 5 siblings and grew up in a close-knit family environment. She was known for her devout faith and active participation in the Catholic community. Emanuela had a particular passion for music, and she honed her skills at a local music school. Her proficiency as a flutist was well recognized, and she was regarded as a talented musician within her community. On the fateful morning of June 22, 1983, Emanuela left her family's Vatican City apartment to attend a scheduled flute lesson in Rome. Her flute teacher, Giuseppe Domenico de Notaris, was expecting her eagerly, but Emanuela never made it to her lesson. As the hours passed without Emanuela's return, her family and the music school became increasingly concerned. The realization that she had gone missing prompted immediate action, and her disappearance was reported to the authorities. Emanuela's disappearance has been marked by a series of baffling and puzzling elements, adding to the enduring mystery of her case. Despite extensive investigation spanning from 1983 to the present, virtually no tangible physical evidence has been discovered to shed light on Emanuela's fate or whereabouts. Her personal belongings, including her beloved flute, purse, and identification documents, have never been located. The Orlandi family's deep-rooted connection to the Vatican, where her father worked, has given rise to numerous conspiracy theories and speculations. Some have posited that her disappearance may be linked to Vatican secrets or internal affairs, yet no concrete evidence has emerged to substantiate these claims. Over the years, there have been countless reported sightings and leads related to Emanuela, but none have resulted in her definitive discovery. These false leads have only served to complicate the already intricate case. Amid the myriad of theories, there are persistent speculations that Emanuela may have been abducted by an organized crime group to exert pressure on Vatican officials. However, like many theories, these allegations remain unsupported by credible evidence. Emanuela's family has displayed unwavering determination in their quest for answers and justice. They have sought assistance from the Vatican, Italian law enforcement, and international organizations. Their persistent efforts have kept the case in the public eye and have put pressure on authorities to continue investigating. Despite extensive investigations and ongoing efforts, as well as the Vatican's involvement and the tireless commitment of the Orlandi family, Emanuela's fate and whereabouts remain a deeply enigmatic mystery. Her disappearance continues to captivate public attention, giving rise to numerous theories and speculations, with no definitive resolution to this day. John Favara. The case of John Favara revolves around the disappearance of a man who became infamous for his role in a tragic accident involving a powerful figure. John Favara was an ordinary resident of Howard Beach, a neighborhood in Queens, New York City. He worked as a furniture salesman and was known to be a family man. Favara lived with his wife and children, an example of the everyday, working, middle-class man. The pivotal event in the John Favara case occurred in 1984 when he was driving his car in Howard Beach. He was involved in a collision with a young boy, the son of notorious mob boss John Gotti. The accident led to severe injuries to young Frank Gotti. Following the accident, tensions escalated between John Favara and the Gotti family. Allegedly, Favara received threats and warnings from members of the Gotti family. Despite these pressures, Favara refused to leave his home. On July 28, 1980, Favara mysteriously vanished. He was last seen being forcibly shoved into a van near his residence. His family reported his disappearance to the police, but despite extensive investigations, he was never located. Rumors and speculation swirled regarding what happened to him. While there was never any concrete evidence linking John Gotti to the disappearance, it was widely suspected that he was behind the kidnapping of John Favara. Some sources suggest that Gotti himself was involved in the abduction. Favara's disappearance was seen as retribution for the accident involving Gotti's son. Gotti's reputation as a mob boss and his ability to control and intimidate others made it difficult to investigate any potential involvement. The case of John Favara remains unsolved, and he was never seen or heard from again after his disappearance. Despite efforts by law enforcement, the Gotti family maintained their silence regarding Favara's whereabouts, and no leads ever provided definitive answers. John Gotti himself, known as the Teflon Don for his ability to avoid convictions in court, was eventually arrested, tried, and convicted for various crimes, including murder and racketeering. He was sentenced to life in prison and died behind bars in 2002. Some of his associates and family members were also imprisoned. John Favara's case remains a symbol of the power and intimidation associated with organized crime, particularly the Italian-American mafia. It was also a reflection of the complexities of seeking justice when powerful and influential figures are involved. The fate of John Favara remains unknown, and his disappearance is still shrouded in mystery. It is a testament to the enduring challenges in solving cases linked to organized crime, even when strong suspicions exist. Dorothy Arnold. Dorothy Arnold was born on July 1st, 1886, into a prominent and wealthy family in New York City. She was the daughter of Frances Rose Arnold, who was a successful perfume importer, and her mother, Mary Martha Parkman. Dorothy had several siblings, and the family lived in a fashionable neighborhood on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. She attended the elite Bryn Mawr College in Pennsylvania, where she studied music. On December 12, 1910, Dorothy Arnold, age 24, left her family's home to go shopping for a dress. She had aspirations of becoming a writer and had been working on a novel for some time. She left with a significant amount of cash in her purse and told her family she planned to visit a dress shop. However, she never returned home. Dorothy's family and her father, who was well connected in New York society, made extensive efforts to find her. They reported her disappearance to the police and hired private investigators. However, despite their considerable resources and contacts, no significant leads were ever uncovered. Numerous theories and speculations arose regarding Dorothy Arnold's disappearance. Some believed she had simply run away to start a new life, as she had expressed dissatisfaction with her affluent, sheltered existence. However, this theory was countered by the fact that she left her entire life behind, including her writing, clothes, and jewelry. Another theory was that she had been secretly engaged or romantically involved with someone of whom her family would not approve, leading to her disappearance. There were claims that she may have been pregnant or sought an abortion, but there was no concrete evidence to support these claims. Some believed she may have suffered amnesia or memory loss, which could explain her inability to return home or reach out to her family. None of these theories, however, have been confirmed. The mysterious disappearance of Dorothy Arnold remains one of the most enduring cold cases in American history. Despite extensive investigations, numerous theories, and various claims about possible sightings, her fate was never discovered. Dorothy Arnold's family continued searching for her for years, even consulting psychics and mediums, but to no avail. The case fascinated the public and was widely covered in newspapers and media at the time. To this day, the circumstances surrounding her disappearance remain a subject of intrigue and speculation, with no definitive answers or clues as to what happened to Dorothy Arnold after she left her home in 1910. Cynthia Anderson. Cynthia Lou Anderson, known as Cindy to her family and friends, was born on June 9, 1958 in Tacoma, Washington. At the time of her disappearance, she was a 20-year-old aspiring nurse living in Lawton, Oklahoma. Cynthia was described as a bright and ambitious young woman who had a promising future ahead of her. On August 4, 1981, Cynthia Anderson left her apartment for her job at the Ridgecrest Mental Health Center in Lawton. She worked as a secretary at the center. According to her coworkers, she appeared to be in good spirits and showed no signs of distress. However, she never arrived at her workplace that day and did not return home. Cynthia's sudden disappearance prompted immediate concern. Law enforcement initiated an investigation to find her. During their inquiries, they discovered that her car had been left in a parking lot of a mental health center, but there was no sign of her. The apartment Cynthia lived in did not show signs of a struggle, and her personal belongings, including her purse and identification, were still inside the residence. There were no indications that she had planned to leave or disappear voluntarily. Cynthia's family and friends were adamant that she would not willingly vanish without a word, and they were baffled by her sudden and unexplained absence. Despite extensive investigations, no definitive leads or evidence surfaced to explain Cynthia Anderson's disappearance. Law enforcement explored various theories, including the possibility of abduction or foul play, but no conclusive evidence supported these theories. Over the years, there have been tips and leads in the case, but none have led to a resolution. Her family remained committed to finding answers and keeping Cynthia's memory alive. The disappearance case remains unsolved, and the whereabouts and fate of Cynthia Anderson continue to be unknown. The disappearance of Cynthia Anderson is a baffling cold case that has left her family and friends without answers for decades. Her family has maintained their hope for closure and the discovery of what happened to her. The case remains open, but to this day the mystery endures, and there are no clear indications or conclusive evidence to provide insight into her disappearance. Cynthia's family continues to hold out hope that one day they will learn the truth about her fate. The Beaumont children. Jane Natera Beaumont was born on September 10, 1956, Amna Kathleen Beaumont on November 11, 1958, and Grant Ellis Beaumont on July 12, 1961. They were known as the Beaumont children. Their parents, Jim and Nancy Beaumont, were a loving and well-respected couple. On January 26, 1966, which is celebrated as Australia Day, Jane, Amna, and Grant left their home in Somerton Park to spend the day at Glenelg Beach, a popular seaside suburb in Adelaide. They had made the journey independently, and was common in those days. The children had been given permission to go to the beach, but they were expected to return by a designated time. The Beaumont children were last seen playing together at Glenelg Beach that morning. Witnesses at the time recall seeing them interact with a tall blonde man near the beach, but this man's identity remains unknown. The children did not return home as expected, and their parents began searching for them. It soon became clear that the children had gone missing. The disappearance of the Beaumont children led to one of the largest investigations in Australian criminal history. Authorities conducted extensive searches, questioned witnesses, and followed up on numerous leads. Despite these efforts, no trace of the children were found, and their whereabouts remain unknown. The case generated enormous public interest and sympathy and was widely covered in the media. Over the years, there have been various reports of potential sightings and tips, but none have led to a resolution in the case. The circumstances surrounding the Beaumont children's disappearance have given rise to various theories, including abduction, human trafficking, and potential witnesses who may have been hesitant to come forward at the time. One enduring theory is that the children were abducted, but despite exhaustive investigations and searches, no evidence has definitively supported this theory. The disappearance of the Beaumont children remains one of Australia's most baffling and heartbreaking mysteries. Despite the passage of many decades, the case continues to be a subject of public interest and debate. The fate of Jane, Amna, and Grant Beaumont, and the circumstances of their disappearance remain unknown. The case has deeply impacted Australian society and has served as a reminder of the importance of child safety and vigilance. It is a stark example of the enduring pain that families of missing children experience, and the hope that, one day, answers will come to light. The Beaumont children case stands as a chilling and solved mystery in the history of Australian crime. Ray Gricker. Ray Frank Gricker was born on October 9, 1945 in Cleveland, Ohio. He was an accomplished attorney and served as the district attorney of Center County, Pennsylvania for over 2 decades. Known for his dedication to justice, Gricker had prosecuted high-profile cases during his career. On April 15, 2005, Gricker mysteriously vanished. That morning, he left his home in Bellefonte, Pennsylvania, and drove to Lewisburg. His red Mini Cooper was later found in the parking lot of an antiques mall in Lewisburg. Inside the car were his cell phone, county-issued laptop, and other personal items. A missing persons investigation was launched immediately. Despite extensive searches, there was no sign of Gricker. His disappearance was considered highly unusual and raised suspicions of foul play. The investigation into Ray Gricker's disappearance was challenging from the beginning. Gricker's laptop was found in the Susquehanna River near Lewisburg, damaged beyond repair. It was later revealed that the laptop's hard drive had been removed. This raised questions about whether Gricker had intentionally erased the hard drive or if someone had done so after his disappearance. In addition to the missing hard drive, investigators did not find any concrete evidence of a struggle or foul play. A lack of substantial leads or a confirmed motive complicated the investigation. The circumstances of his disappearance remained perplexing. Several theories emerged over the years about what might have happened to Ray Gricker. Some speculated that his high-profile work as a prosecutor may have made him a target. Others suggested that he may have voluntarily disappeared, possibly starting a new life elsewhere. The possibility of suicide was also considered, as Gricker's brother had taken his own life. The disappearance of Ray Gricker continues to be a baffling cold case. In July 2005, Gricker was declared legally dead despite no physical evidence of his fate. His mysterious case has generated ongoing public interest, leading to various theories, speculation, and investigations by amateur sleuths. Ray Gricker's family has held on to hope for answers while seeking closure. His former colleagues and friends remember him as a dedicated public servant who sought justice for his community. His enigmatic disappearance remains a poignant and unsettling mystery in Pennsylvania, and his fate has yet to be definitively determined. Cindy Song. Her full name being, forgive me for this, Han-ik Cindy Song, was a South Korean national who came to the United States to pursue her education. She was a student at Pennsylvania State University, where she was studying integrative arts and was known for her friendly and outgoing personality. Cindy Song was last seen on the night of October 31st, 2001 in State College, Pennsylvania. She had been celebrating Halloween with friends and had gone to a costume party at a local nightclub known as Players Nightclub. She was dressed as a bunny for the occasion. After the party, Cindy left with her friends but got separated from them during the night. She was last seen near her apartment at the Park Hill Apartments complex on West Park Avenue. She was just a few days shy of her 22nd birthday. Cindy Song's friends became concerned when they couldn't find her the next day. They reported her missing to the police and an investigation was launched immediately. Despite comprehensive investigation, no trace of Cindy Song was found. Her disappearance was puzzling because she appeared to have vanished without a trace. Her personal belongings, including her purse, identification, and cell phone, were left behind in her apartment. There were no signs of a struggle, and her bank accounts were not accessed after her disappearance. The lack of any substantial leads made the investigation challenging. The circumstances surrounding her disappearance remain perplexing. Several theories emerged regarding Cindy Song's disappearance. Some speculated that she might have encountered foul play while walking back to her apartment. Others considered the possibility that she may have met with an accident. Some even raised the question of voluntary disappearance, although her family and friends have strongly denied this theory, emphasizing that she was close to her family and had no reason to disappear willingly. The mystery deepened as no evidence or information emerged over the years to shed light on what happened to Cindy Song. Her family and friends have continued to seek answers and closure. Cindy Song's case remains unsolved, and her whereabouts are still unknown. Her family and friends continue to hope for information that may lead to answers about her disappearance. Her case serves as a poignant reminder of the challenges faced in missing person cases, where the absence of concrete leads can hinder the search for the truth. Cindy Song's family maintains a website dedicated to her case and has actively sought assistance from the public in finding her. Despite the passage of time, they hold out hope for answers and resolution in her disappearance. Jody Huizentroot. Jody Sue Huizentroot was born on June 5, 1968, in Long Prairie, Minnesota. She pursued a career in journalism and had a passion for reporting the news. Huizentroot was a well-liked, vivacious, and ambitious young woman who had landed her dream job as a television news anchor in Mason City, Iowa. Jody Huizentroot was last seen on the morning of June 27, 1995. She was scheduled to anchor the morning news for KIMT, the CBS affiliate in Mason City. Her colleagues became concerned when she failed to arrive at the station for her shift, as she was known for her punctuality. They contacted the police, who went to her apartment complex, Key Apartments, located near the station. At her apartment, the police found signs of a struggle near her car, including some personal belongings scattered around. It appeared that a struggle had taken place in the parking lot. Huizentroot's red Mazda Miata was found at the scene with signs of a possible abduction, such as a bent key in the lock and evidence of a scuffle. Huizentroot's purse, containing her keys and other personal items, was found inside her car. The investigation into Jody Huizentroot's disappearance was launched immediately. Law enforcement, including the FBI, pursued various leads and conducted extensive searches. Despite these efforts, no trace of Huizentroot was found. Her case garnered significant media attention and public interest. Over the years, investigators have interviewed numerous individuals, conducted searches, and explored potential theories, but the case remains unsolved. The lack of concrete evidence and witnesses has made it challenging to determine what happened to Jody Huizentroot. The circumstances surrounding Jody Huizentroot's disappearance have led to various theories. Some theories suggest that she may have been the victim of a random abduction or a crime of opportunity. Others speculate that someone she knew may have been involved in her disappearance. One theory is that Huizentroot may have been targeted due to her position as a local news anchor. Her work as a journalist, though dedicated and professional, may have attracted unwanted attention. Despite these theories, no definitive evidence has surfaced to support any particular scenario. The case of Jody Huizentroot remains one of the most well-known and perplexing missing person cases in the United States. Her family and friends have continued to seek answers and resolution to her disappearance. A billboard campaign, organized by her family, has aimed to keep her case in the public eye in hopes of generating leads or information that could help solve the mystery. The disappearance of Jody Huizentroot has inspired numerous media reports, documentaries, and podcasts which have helped raise awareness about her case. While many years have passed since her disappearance, her family, friends, and the community have not given up hope of one day finding answers about what happened to Jody Huizentroot. Trevor Deely. Trevor Deely was born on September 22, 1981, and grew up in Naas, County Kildare, Ireland. He came from a close-knit and loving family and was described as a friendly and sociable individual. After completing his education, Deely moved to Dublin in search of better job opportunities. He secured a job as a business analyst at the Bank of Ireland Asset Management in Dublin. Deely's life seemed to be going well. He had a good job, a wide circle of friends, and a promising future. On the night of December 7, 2000, Trevor Deely attended his office's Christmas party at the Hilton Hotel on Charlemont Place in Dublin. The festivities continued at a nightclub, and Deely, known for his friendly and outgoing personality, stayed until the early hours of the morning. Around 3:25 a.m. on December 8th, Deely was captured on CCTV footage leaving the club. Deely then made his way to his office in Wilton Park, a location he had reached in the past after the office Christmas party. He was seen on another CCTV camera entering the office complex at 3:34 a.m., where he planned to retrieve an umbrella and return to the party. However, when he reached the office, he noticed that his access card didn't work because the office was locked. Around 4:14 a.m., Deely was last seen on CCTV footage speaking with an unidentified man outside the office. This man, who appeared to be holding an umbrella, engaged in a brief conversation with Deely before both men walked away from the camera's view. Trevor Deely has not been seen or heard from since that moment. Trevor Deely's disappearance triggered an extensive and ongoing investigation by Irish authorities. Despite their best efforts, no concrete leads or information about his whereabouts have emerged. In the years following his disappearance, numerous appeals, searches, and media campaigns have been conducted to raise awareness and gather information about Trevor Deely. Authorities have revisited the case multiple times, and there have been forensic examinations, interviews, and searches, but the mystery remains unsolved. Various theories have emerged in an attempt to explain Trevor Deely's disappearance. They include abduction. Some speculate that Deely may have been abducted by an unknown individual on the night of his disappearance. However, there is no substantial evidence to support this theory. Accidental harm. It's possible that Deely may have encountered foul play or harm during the early morning hours of December 8th, but there is insufficient evidence to confirm this. Voluntary disappearance. Some have considered the possibility that Trevor Deely chose to disappear voluntarily, but his family and friends strongly believe that this is unlikely given his close relationship with his family and his future prospects. Witness protection. There have been suggestions that Deely entered a witness protection program due to some unknown involvement, but this theory lacks concrete evidence. Despite the efforts of investigators and the enduring support of Trevor Deely's family and the public, the case remains unsolved, and his whereabouts continue to be a mystery. Trevor Deely's case remains a prominent unsolved mystery in Ireland. His family, friends, and the wider community have not given up hope of finding answers. They continue to appeal for information and encourage anyone who may have details or leads regarding his disappearance to come forward. The case has received significant media attention and has led to renewed efforts to find out what happened to Trevor Deely on that fateful night in December of 2000. Brittany Drexel. Brittany Drexel was born on October 7, 1991, in Gates, a suburb of Rochester, New York. She was described as a typical teenager, outgoing, vivacious, and sociable. In April of 2009, at the age of 17, she decided to take a spring break trip to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina with friends. Brittany and her friends arrived in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, for their spring break vacation. On April 25, 2009, she was staying at the Bar Harbor Hotel with her friends. On the evening of April 25th, she left the hotel to meet some acquaintances she had met during the trip. Drexel was last seen on April 25th of 2009, leaving the Blue Water Resort in Myrtle Beach. Surveillance footage captured her leaving the hotel, and this was the last known sighting of her. Brittany Drexel's disappearance sparked a massive search and investigation. Her family and law enforcement agencies in New York and South Carolina have worked tirelessly to find her. Despite extensive efforts, her whereabouts have remained unknown for years. Several leads and persons of interest emerged during the investigation, but none led to a resolution. Some individuals were questioned and investigated, but no one was charged in connection with her disappearance. The case received significant media attention and continued to be a focus of local and national news. Various theories have circulated about what might have happened to Brittany Drexel. They include human trafficking. Given the circumstances of her disappearance in a popular tourist area, some have speculated that Drexel may have fallen victim to human trafficking. This theory has been a point of concern for her family and investigators. Foul play. It is also possible that she may have met with foul play while she was away from her friends. However, no concrete evidence has emerged to support this theory. Witnesses. Investigators have appealed to the public for information about her last known whereabouts and anyone who may have seen her after she left the Blue Water Resort. Unfortunately, despite rewards and public pleas, there have been no substantial leads. Voluntary disappearance. While some have suggested the possibility of a voluntary disappearance, her family and investigators have dismissed this theory as they believe that Drexel would not have willingly abandoned her life and family. Brittany Drexel's case remains unsolved as of the last available information in early 2022. Her family has maintained a strong presence on social media and through various events to raise awareness about her disappearance, hoping that someone with information will come forward. Her mother, Dawn Drexel, has been particularly active in the search for her daughter and has expressed a determination to find answers. Despite the passage of many years, the case remains open, and authorities in both New York and South Carolina continue to seek any information that may provide clarity about Brittany Drexel's fate. The disappearance of Brittany Drexel is a troubling case that highlights the ongoing issue of missing persons. The circumstances remain unclear, and her family continues to hope for answers and closure in her case. Brandon Swanson. Brandon Swanson was born on January 30th, 1988, and grew up in Marshall, a small town in southwestern Minnesota. He was described as a responsible and friendly young man who was very close to his family. In May 2008, Brandon was attending Minnesota West Community and Technical College, and he had recently received his driver's license. On the night of May 14th, 2008, Brandon attended a party in Canby, Minnesota with friends. It was a Wednesday evening, and he had left the party at around 1 a.m. on May 15th to drive back to his parents' home in Marshall, which was about 30 miles away. Brandon had been drinking at the party, and his car ended up in a ditch in a rural area. Frustrated and disoriented, Brandon called his parents, Brian and Annette Swanson, for assistance. At approximately 2:18 a.m., his father picked up and drove to the scene of the car accident. They tried to find the car, but were unable to. During the phone call, Brandon mentioned that he saw some lights and thought he was near Lind, a small town west of Marshall. Brandon's parents asked him to turn on his car's flashers so they could locate him. They kept talking on the phone, trying to guide each other to the location. Brandon stated that he was walking on a gravel road and could see the lights of the town of Lind in the distance. However, as his parents approached the supposed location, they couldn't find him. At around 2:30 a.m., the phone call abruptly ended. When Brandon's parents arrived at the location where they believed he was, they didn't find him, and the car was nowhere to be seen. They searched the area but were unable to locate him or the vehicle. Brandon's parents contacted the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office and reported him missing. A search and rescue operation was launched involving law enforcement, search teams, and volunteers, but no trace of Brandon or his car was found. Helicopters and K-9 units were used in the search, but it yielded no results. The investigation into Brandon's disappearance continued for an extended period, with law enforcement and search teams searching various areas, but no new leads emerged. Theories about what might have happened to him included the possibility that he had fallen into water or became disoriented in the dark. Despite extensive efforts, Brandon Swanson's disappearance remains unsolved as of the last available information in early 2022. There has been no evidence or credible sightings of him since that night. His case remains open, and his family continues to seek answers. Over the years, his parents have been involved in raising awareness about their son's case and advocating for missing persons cases. They maintain hope that someone with information about Brandon's whereabouts will come forward. The disappearance of Brandon Swanson is a strange case marked by many unknowns, and it has left his family with lingering questions and uncertainty about what happened that night.